Welcome. It is Friday, May 15th, right before the long weekend. Won't be as information heavy today. I'm just going to share with you some of my favorite products because gluten-free can be a challenge. There's lots of products out there that are total crap, and you can waste tons of money. So I found a few that are like my go-to, my select. And I just kind of keep going on with these. So I wanted to share them because there's lots of not good stuff out there. I wanted to talk about gluten-free products because I have been gluten-free since 2003. But when I was 18, which is way before 2003, a naturopath at that time, my naturopath told me to go wheat-free, and I didn't know what that was. Like back then, there was no stores, there was no Whole Foods, there was really no choices, there was no alternative aisle in the grocery stores. I think my mom had tried to help me out so much, and we found spelt bread at Meinhardt's, and I used to eat that, but it was so dense back in the day that it was like every time we bought it, it was like raw on the inside, so it really wasn't good. Now when you buy spelt bread, it's like fluffy and delicious, and you almost can't even tell the difference of what you're eating. But this is like really rustic, like hard brick loaves, and we used to eat, we ate Indian food at home, and roti. I didn't know that roti wasn't gluten-free or wheat-free. We didn't know, so there was really like no real educating. I wasn't educated by the practitioner that well. Did I eat lots of rice? Yeah, I ate lots of rice, and then I kind of just gave up on that. So then I went to university. I think ate kind of not gluten-free, and then went to naturopathic medicine, and I don't think I was gluten-free there, and I knew I shouldn't have been eating as much wheat as I was, but it was easy. Actually, Toronto is like 30 years ahead of Vancouver. When I lived in Toronto for naturopathic medicine after UBC, there was a lot of alternative grocery stores that was like really great to get alternative foods, and vegan restaurants. Not that I'm vegan at all, I'm mostly allergic to many vegan products, but vegan restaurants would often have gluten-free, and vegan restaurants were like in my neighborhood at that time. This is like 1998, maybe 99, and already there was like vegan restaurants in my neighborhood. The alternative grocery stores were awesome, so it was like really easy to get this stuff when I was living in Toronto, and I found Vancouver very much behind. Maybe because I grew up in Richmond and it was harder to find in Richmond. If I grew up in Vancouver, I would have known about these little spots that had all this stuff, but it was hard for me to find. So now it's just like these products are everywhere, and not to say that gluten-free products are healthy for you, because they could be full of total crap, like total crap, and it could say gluten-free, it could say GMO-free, it could be like all, organic even, but all the products in it could be just total crap products. So you want to be gluten-free, but you want nutrient value. So just before I go into the products, gluten is the protein in wheat that makes the dough sticky. So when you knead the dough, you're activating the gluten and it sticks together, and it's what helps the bread rise. It's what makes the pasta sticky. It's what allows it to be formed. And that protein over the years is not in Canada genetically modified, but genetically hybrid, so that when you are raising the wheat, it is hybridized to make sure that gluten molecule is a little bigger than it ancestrally was. And when you make that gluten molecule bigger, or that protein bigger, it is it is fluffier bread, fluffier grains, more shelf stable. The bread can be on the shelf longer. So there's a lot of commercialized and capitalistic benefits of it, but for our gut, it's really not good. So then there's harvesting of it is one of the issues. Then on top of that, when you are no longer hand kneading bread, when you hand knead something, you can't activate the gluten at that much because you're using like hand kneaded hand power. However, now you're making mass quantities of bread and you're putting it in these big vats, and you have these like electronic mixers that are like, you know, going as fast as they can, and that super activates the gluten molecule. And so now this gluten molecule is activated so heavily, whereas when you're kneading it by hand and just human strength, you can't activate it that much. So now the modernization of food and the mass consumption and production of food, it's really changed how gluten is activated, because now it's like machine made, and now it's like already genetically altered or hybridized to make that molecule bigger, and then on top of that it's hyper activated, and then you have yeast put in there too in the breads, things like that. So, you know, no longer is it small batch hand kneaded or even ground fresh. So when you grind the wheat, it should be used almost immediately, because or soon after grinding it, because there's oils in the wheat and they go rancid. So, you know, all these things, now we have like ground wheat sitting in storage houses for like months and months, probably years, and then it's, you know, made by all these machines, and it's like hyper produced. So there's a lot of issues. It's not just the gluten molecule. Back when it was more of a natural gluten and a handmade bread and a sourdough starter, which is a naturally fermented non-yeast sourdough European starter, that breaks down the gluten molecule and it's so much easier to digest. But modern food is not like that anymore. So now we see a huge epidemic of gluten issues. That's like a super quick snippet synopsis of my take on gluten. A lot of people are like, oh, we shouldn't be eating grains. It should just be like meat and vegetables. I just don't think that's true, and I don't think at all we need to eliminate one food group, but just modern production of food and the way it's evolved. Our gut does not at all evolve as quickly as technology, nor should it. We have a problem with gluten. And is that an industrialization of the gluten, or is it the molecule itself that we were never supposed to have? My take is modern food, that's the problem. And the more closer to the original wheat and maybe like a small batch handmade product, I think a person would have less gluten issues. And I know this to be true just by I do the small batch gluten things that's fermented the proper way. It's like a correct European starter, organic wheat, no yeast packets in it. My gut can take that. So I've been gluten-free since like 2013, and I've seen ups and downs of a lot of products, tried a lot of things, and you know, you just have to surrender to the fact that everything that you used to love, you can't have. And I love bread, like I love bread. I think that primal craving for bread and butter for me will never, ever go away. And I have found zero gluten-free bread that tastes anywhere remotely close to satisfying. I kidded myself for years and thought that there was, so I would just find various products and be like, yeah, this is pretty good. But when you have a gluten-free product, there's no gluten in it. There's no molecule that makes it sticky. So you have to put a lot of starches in the product to make it sticky. So those gluten-free breads would have lots of tapioca starch or potato starch, and then a little bit of brown rice flour. And it's just like all these starches that that are totally devoid of any nutrients and not great for our health at all. But I'm having bread in the morning because it's gluten-free. So like the last year or two, I just stopped that, and I won't have any type of gluten-free bread because it's really not healthy. And sometimes, you know, the amount of cornstarch, tapioca starch, those starches, there's no nutritional value to it at all. So will I have bread once in a while? Yes, but I'll make sure it's a bread I can handle, and it'll be a once in a while spread out so that if my gut does react, it's not like I'm having it every single day. So that's my take on gluten-free. When you go gluten-free, it is a surrender to the process, and maybe you can't have croissants and brownies that are gluten-free every single time that you want them just because they're made. You still have to check the ingredients, and if there's tapioca starch, corn starch, all that stuff is the first ingredient in the products, that means that that's the in the label, if that's the first ingredient, that means that's the highest amount of quantity in that product. So when you have a gluten-free food, if you read the label and it says tapioca starch first, that's the highest ingredient in that product. So if you're buying gluten-free crackers and it says first tapioca starch, or you're having a gluten-free bread, and I've seen gluten-free breads and it's great and it totally sticks together, but it almost has this like, shiny sheen on it, and you can tell there's so much cornstarch in that product because cornstarch is sticky. Xanthan gum is sticky, so all these things, all these starches have to be added to these products to make it sticky, and those are total zero nutrients and just starches. So can it be a gluten-free junk food? Totally. So I'm trying to eat more and more whole food, which means gluten-free is not having any pasta, wheat pastas, white flour pastas, or breads, or pizzas, or anything like that, cereals, pastries, cookies. So I don't replace them with alternative flour replacements. I just don't have them. And if I have gluten-free stuff, there is a large flake oats I can have. I'll have those, not even that often, but my go-to is like quinoa and rice. Those I can have. And so those are whole grains that kind of just, rice is rice. It's pulverized into a rice flour, which also isn't the best. Rice is a whole grain, and it comes from nature like that. Quinoa comes from nature like that. Potatoes are a starch. They come from nature like that. So they're not transformed into something like this pulverized rice flour, but there's 59% tapioca starch, and then the rest is potato starch, and then a little bit of brown rice flour, and you make a bread out of that. So I try not to do stuff like that because that stuff's not good for your blood sugar. It's not good for your health. It might be gluten-free, but it does not mean it's healthy. So of course I can't just always rely on rice and potatoes and quinoa. That would kind of be boring. So I have over the years come across a few products that I love, and I know they're starches, and I like starches to be sprouted too, but unless I make it myself, I can't. So what I mean by that is, like, when I make quinoa, I'll soak it overnight first before cooking it, so it's enzymatically active. So if I'm making a cup of quinoa, I'll just put a bunch of water on it, a little bit of salt in the water, or a little bit of vinegar, and leave it on the counter overnight. You don't have to do anything to it. And then in the morning, I just drain it, and then you'll see all this foamy stuff on it, and I just wash all that off, and then I cook the quinoa. So it's enzymatically active. So when I'm talking about these products, most of them are not enzymatically active, but I do the best I can, and so these products I'm pretty happy with. So I will show you some of my go-to. I do love pasta and noodles, so not a lot of people gravitate towards pasta, but if you do, this is my favorite rice pasta. It's called Sanzanoni, and it's a brown rice pasta, and I find it at Choices very often. Whole Foods used to have it, but they don't have it any longer. It's about $3.99 per pack, and it's organic brown rice flour and water. So I really like this product. I don't know if you can kind of see the individual strands of pasta, but they're not too thick. So I've had other brands of pasta where it's kind of like a thicker noodle, and it doesn't kind of taste like it's spaghetti, but it's just really thick. So this one kind of is the correct size of a regular durum wheat pasta, and when you cook it, and you just have to get used to cooking it a few times, and when it's not mushy, it's actually quite good. So I really like this. This is one of my go-tos. I'll even make it for a couple of portions in the week and have it portioned out and put whatever sauce on it I need, and then it can be a grab-and-go meal. because I like to make like 4 meals at a time. So this is one of my go-to is Sanzanoni. We are also sending out vlogs with these videos, and I will send out the names of these products in the vlogs too, and I'll try to write where you can find them too. So go to brown rice pasta, Sanzanoni. It's super, super good. This is one of my absolute favorites. This brand is called, where is the brand? It's called King Soba. It's listed right here. It's probably backwards, but it's called King Soba is the brand. And I really like soba noodles, and this is a buckwheat and sweet potato soba noodle. They have other flavors too, and I've tried 1 or 2 of those, and they're really good. This is awesome. So I've had soba before, but soba noodles is made from buckwheat, which is totally gluten-free. And I've had soba noodles before, but they end up being like grainy, and they just turn to mush and they break. And also when you buy soba noodles, they always, because they're grainy and they break, they will mix it often with wheat, so you have to be careful. So it's a buckwheat, which is a gluten-free. Oh, my mom just logged on. Hi, Mom. There's a gluten-free component to it, but then they always add wheat to it. This one is 100% gluten-free. So I'll read you the ingredients. It is organic buckwheat flour is 95% of it, and then there's sweet potato flour, which is 5% of it, and it's prepared in a gluten-free facility. It's really good. So when I boil this, you just get the right consistency, and you don't boil it over till mush. And when you get the right consistency, it has a total well-formed noodle composition, and it is delicious. So you can make Asian foods with this. I have a tahini sauce that I make, and I always pour this over, and then I'll make like broccoli and stuff and put that in, and then have it with like a fish or a protein or whatever it is. But it's really, really, really good. Or you can add it to like an Asian style soup. This is really good. So buckwheat is kind of like a nuttier flavor, and it's delicious. So it's wheat and gluten-free. I've found this only at Choices. I don't think Whole Foods has it, and it's kind of pricier, so I try to only buy it when it's on sale. It's a pretty good sized package, but it's $6.99 when it's regular price, but I try to wait for it when it's like $4 or $5, and then I'll grab a bunch. I've even tried to see if I can find it online, and it's usually more expensive. I don't know why, but I've only found it at Choices. So this is so awesome. I highly, highly recommend it. It's a total go-to. It only takes like 7 minutes to boil, and even if you just put a little tamari and sesame seed oil on it, and then just a little bit of like bok choy or something, it's delicious, and put it in a broth. It's really, really good. So that is one of my favorite go-to products. Is that helpful? You can throw up some hearts if that's helpful. Those two are super, super good. This is one of my favorites. So it's Food for Life, sprouted corn tortilla. So the name is Food for Life. So I see some hearts and some likes. Awesome. So this one is Food for Life sprouted corn tortilla. This is one of my favorites. So it's really quite rustic. If you can see even the edges, it's not like this super machine made pounded out thing. You can tell it's a little bit more rustic. So it's not so like totally perfect and refined. Each piece is not like the same identical piece. I don't know if they hand roll it. I have no idea. I do end up eating a lot more Mexican food, I would say, because it is gluten-free, and I can't take a lot of corn because corn is really hard for my gut to digest too. However, any corn tortilla for sure I cannot do or corn taco, because it is generally made from genetically modified corn, and that's heavily sprayed, and it's really more of a sugar product than anything else. This is from organic corn. I'll read you the ingredients. 1 second here. It's organic sprouted corn, filtered water, sea salt, and lime. So traditionally, just like what I explained about my quinoa, how I like to soak it overnight and how I like it to be fermented, I would love if this was fermented. I would love if this was fermented, but they're not. They would probably be $1 million per package if they are. But this is fermented, so it's sprouted. That means that when they make the masa, the corn flour, they've added lime to it, and they probably leave it overnight so it starts to ferment, and it breaks down the proteins in the corn, and it starts to sprout. And I think when you do that, you release the B vitamins in it. So here's a fun fact on the back. It says corn, also known as maize, corn has been grown in the Americas for thousands of years. Corn was the chief source of nourishment for many Indian tribes, including the Mayas, the Aztec, the Incas, and other Indian tribes of North and South America. Early colonists first learned how to use corn from the Iroquois Indians from the pre-New England era. So this corn has been used for ages, but they used to ferment it. So sprouting is used to release the whole nutrient stored in this grain. And mainly, I think it's the B vitamins. When you sprout it, it is totally different. When you buy corn tortillas from just an average corn tortilla from the grocery store, it is very stuck together. It is very, almost like rubbery, I would say. And this is very rustic. Like, it feels like somebody just pounded it out, and then when you heat it, it's totally different. It could take a little bit of getting used to for some people, but when you sprout it, you can taste the difference. It's so much easier to digest, and you release the nutrients of it. So here it also says here, they're made from freshly sprouted 100% whole grain corn kernel. We use no cornmeal or no corn flour. So they use a kernel. That's the difference. We sprout our corn first and slowly produce it into a masa using basic natural ingredients and gently press it into the wholesome, flavorful, sprouted organic corn tortillas. So we believe in sprouting the corn we use because sprouting is the best way to release all the nutrients stored in the whole grain, which is true. To maximize nutrition and flavor, we add the right amount of water to add to the whole organically grown corn. And what's more, our slow mixing process helps preserve the important natural fiber. You can see and taste and smell the sprouted grain difference. That's totally it. So that's exactly what I was talking about, even with the wheat, the slow mixing process. So they're not using big vats of like metal machinery that's like whipping this into place and destroying the integrity of the grain. They're slow mixing it, and they're also fermenting it. So if our wheat was treated still like this, it would be a totally different digestion process. Even with the gluten-free grains, if they're not treated like this, it can be and wreak havoc on our gut. So I love this product. It's food for life. So good. I highly recommend it. They also have, I'll go over it, but they have like a rice tortilla. I used to have that for a long time, but because there's nothing else, you convince yourself that it's delicious, and that one is not delicious. It is rice, but it was so hard to wrap. It was like hard rice, and I used to do like wraps. Like if I wanted to do a sandwich wrap, it would be that, because I wasn't eating bread, and it really wasn't good. But while there was no other product on the market, it did the trick. But I have another one that I will show you that is so much better, that is bendy, and it tastes like an awesome wrap, and it's gluten-free. So they also have they have a bunch of products. I think this company, I don't know if Canada carries a lot. Sippy in the States, they will carry more of their products, because I know they have bread too. So they have bread. I haven't tried it. I think there's almond flour and stuff like that in their bread. I did actually maybe have seen it once in Whole Foods years ago, but I don't know if they still carry it. But this, where do I find this? I also find this at Whole Foods. It's a better price. I've seen it at Choices, but it's quite expensive. And at Whole Foods, I think this is like $3.99, and you get 12 in here. It's really good. And it's certified organic too. And you have to use them quickly, because they are whole living foods, so they will go bad in your fridge. Oftentimes, gluten-free products, if you check them out, like these pre-pounded tapioca starch products, they just don't even go bad because nothing's in them to go bad, which is a terrible product to consume because the way we break down food is using the bacteria in our gut. So if the food's not going bad in your fridge, chances are your gut can't even break it down and absorb it. So that's a good tip. When it can go bad quickly, it's a pretty good food. This is my favorite. I screamed when I saw this week at Choices because Marielle just signed in. Hi, Marielle. So I screamed when I saw this at Choices this week because it's a hard one to find. It's La Tortilla Factory, and it is a gluten-free wrap. And look how bendy this is. This is unprecedented for gluten-free wraps. The other wrap I was talking about, it was like hard cardboard and it was like thin and round like this, but you could not bend it without it snapping in half. And I ate it for a long time just because I needed to. And then when I found this, I was like, that stuff is not good. So this one, look at how bendy. It's awesome. So it's made out of non-GMO, it's certified gluten-free, and there's 6 in here, and it's ancient grain. It's made with ivory teff. So teff is what they use to make the injera, is what they use in Egypt. That's their spongy bread that they eat their lentils with. Injera, I believe, is fermented, and it looks like a spongy kind of flatbread, and they use that their lentils and their various other foods. And the grain in injera is teff. So this gluten-free wrap by La Tortilla Factory, super bendy awesome, is teff. So the ingredients is, so you have to take everything with a grain of salt too. The reason why it's so bendy is tapioca starch is the first ingredient, but then it's whole grain teff flour right after. Then there's millet flour. There's canola in here too, which I don't love. However, again, I can't be perfect, but this is better than, it tastes good, so it's better than a lot of other products that are just really not so good. And I don't have it every day, so when I do have it, I totally enjoy it because I don't have wraps every single day. So this is something that I will use. It tastes really good. It doesn't taste like tapioca starch. It actually tastes like a grain, and it's not like shiny or anything. Like when you look at it, you can tell it's been like on a hot plate and like baked, you know? So it has those little like burn marks on it. So it's actually really good. I also, like, I'll make a wrap out of this, like egg salad sandwich or any other like ground or leftover patty or something, and I'll turn it into a sandwich wrap. And what I also do with it is I take one of these and I use it for flat tortilla pizza, and that's awesome because I really miss pizza, and gluten-free pizza is not good at all. I really have yet to have a good gluten-free pizza because I love white flour pizza. It's just like, that's also a craving you can't get over. However, having it on a tortilla totally does the trick. So I just, I put a little bit of oil on the bottom, then I put tomato sauce on top, and then all my toppings, and then I just bake it, and it's like a appetizer meal pizza, and it actually totally satisfies my pizza craving. So it's really, really good. So this is good for wraps and for pizza. Maybe not the best nutritional breakdown, but there's tapioca starch, and then ivory teff is the next one. So, and I don't really like stuff that has canola oil in it either, but again, I will have it once in a while just because you gotta have stuff. I can't have like this hyper perfect diet all the time, and my body can handle, I think it's well versed to handle anything that's like a little bit of canola or something like that. This I also, this is a brand, they do a brown rice pasta too, but their brown rice pasta, I switched over to Sanzanoni. This is tinkyata. Oh wait, La Tortilla Factory. I've only found this at Choices. So far, I've only found this at Choices. Whole Foods doesn't have it. I don't know why. I think some other smaller grocers do have it. But this is the only one I found at Choices. It is also a bit pricey. I can't remember. I think it might be like $7.99, so I only buy it when it's on sale. I happened to find this at $5.99 the other day, so I was super happy and I grabbed it. And it's not always in store, so when it is, I'll grab it, or I'll grab a few of them. And there's 6 in there, and so yeah, that's that. And then there's Tinkiata. This is a good lasagna sheets. They're brown rice Tinkiata. It's organic. The only ingredient in it is, I think, brown rice and water, I believe. There's no starches, other starches. Yeah, brown rice, rice bran, and water. So you can make lasagna with this. It's really good. I've made gluten-free lasagnas and it's super delicious. So this is one of my go-to. I haven't made lasagna in a long time, but when I do, I will use this, and it's actually really good. And you can tell these little lasagna sheets, they have like the ridges, like a wheat lasagna, and it's awesome. It's really good, and you just boil it. You need a big pot because when you're boiling gluten-free pastas, brown rice pastas, you have to have a lot of water. Add salt and oil to the water, so a big pot oiled, and then put in your sheets and then just boil them. It doesn't have to be totally boiled because you're going to cook the lasagna. And then you pull it out, rinse it, and then start to layer and make your lasagna, and it's really good. It holds up well, it doesn't turn mushy, and it's quite delicious. I think a person who is used to having wheat lasagna would not really be able to tell the difference. If your gut can handle dairy and you do all the ricotta cheese mixture and the shredded cheese on top and all that, I don't think a person would be able to really tell the difference. It tastes really quite good. So a lot of gluten-free products, not so tasty. All that I've shared with you so far is really good, and that's coming from me who like loves wheat products. Like I just totally love. This one I was hesitant to show you, but I bought it. It's good. It's by this company called The Real Coconut. Last year I was lucky enough to go to Tulum in Mexico, and the restaurant where this originates from is in Tulum, and it's called The Real Coconut, and the restaurant is pretty delicious. Very expensive, but it's pretty delicious. And these wraps come from there, and they are basically the ingredients. Let me just see. I think, coconut flour, cassava starch, water, xanthan gum, coconut oil, and sea salt. So it's made from coconut flour. You can taste a little hint of coconut in it for sure. But to make wraps, instead of using corn tortillas all the time, I can make tacos on this, or I could put like scrambled eggs on it, make a breakfast wrap. They're pretty bendy too, and this comes with 12 tortillas. They're really quite pricey, I thought, but they're good. So they're not something that I would like die for. Like they're not like a total staple, but they're good. So it's like another alternative. Coconut flour is really low in carbs, so if you're watching your carb intake and don't want to spike your blood sugar too much, the corn flour tortilla would be great. For 3 of them, you are only having 28 grams of carbs, so that's a lot. That's a low amount for 3 of these. It's pretty good. Whereas like a cup of this would have like, I think 44 grams of carbs or something like that. So it's really low in carbs because it's coconut flour. So The Real Coconut corn flour tortillas. I found this recently at Whole Foods. I have seen it in Choices as well. But I do love supporting the smaller grocers, but there's some things I just can't get there. So I know my staples that I love, and I'll go grab them from these bigger stores. But there's like Famous Foods on Kingsway. They're a smaller grocer. Kitsilano, I think it's Kitsilano Supermarket or something like that. That's another smaller one. Yeah, so, and Tinkiata you can find at Save On. So this is at Save On. I believe it's about $3.99, and there's 12 sheets in here, so it'll last you a long time. There's other small little grocers that might carry these, but Famous Foods on Kingsway is a good one too. Some of the, like Donald's, it's another smaller grocer. They will carry a lot of these too. So that's a good option too, just to support the small grocer, and the prices are usually comparable. I try to buy these staples usually when I find them on sale because they're not the cheapest always, and it can add up. Even though, you know, I don't spend a lot on other gluten-free products that can be really, really pricey. But I always am mindful of cost of them too. This one I wasn't sure if I wanted to show you because they're just new. Linda in our office, they're not new, but they're newer to me. They're Mary's crackers. Sometimes you just want a little snack. So I'm not a huge, I've taught myself not to really snack a lot. And if I do snack, it'll just be vegetables or fruit or something. But sometimes this and goat cheese will totally do the trick. So Mary's crackers, I think I'm allergic to them though, because when I eat them several days in a row, I get eczema. So I try not to eat them too much, but Mary's crackers have a good crunch. They are gluten-free. It's made with a bunch of different grains, like organic brown rice, quinoa, brown rice, flax seeds. I think that's what I'm allergic to. Sesame seeds, water, salt, jalapeno powder. So it's pretty clean. It's organic as well. You can get these, I believe, at Costco. I don't have a Costco card, but apparently you can get them and it's quite a good price. Otherwise, they're pretty pricey too. So they're like $6.99 a package, which I will only usually buy them on sale if they're like $4.99. I'll buy a pack here or there just as a treat, but it's not like a staple in my house. So this is not a staple. This is not a staple, but the rest of everything I showed you is a staple, whether it's on sale or not. I'll usually have it because it just helps with my meals. So that's kind of like my go-to. Is that helpful? These products, I'll write them down too as we send them out in a blog. Let me know if that's helpful. If you have any other quick questions, those are kind of just one of the few gluten-free goodies that I wanted to show. I think everyone gets stumped on gluten-free goodies, and it's a lot of trial and error of like really crappy food that is gluten-free but not healthy for you. So over the years, this is what I've kind of come to conclude. I don't experiment with a lot of gluten-free foods because, yeah, I've just surrendered to the fact that I'm not going to eat everything I used to eat in a gluten-free form. So maybe if I'm not supposed to eat gluten, I'm not supposed to eat those foods. So I just kind of surrendered to it, and I'll look for alternatives that kind of serve my purpose or my craving. Or when my gut is feeling quite good, I will have the real deal wheat, and I'll just have small portions of it, like the super fermented awesome bread, sourdough bread. I will have that once in a while. So yeah, is that helpful? Any hearts, thumbs up, any questions, anything else I can kind of share before we log off? Let me know. Sign up to our newsletter. It's at our website, yourburritohealth.com. And when you sign up to our newsletter, you'll get all the information on all these blogs too, and that'll be sent to you. Plus our Facebook Live schedules will be sent. And I am set for tomorrow, I believe at 1:30, to do a mastermind, and it's about the cellular terrain theory versus the germ theory. Oh, you're welcome. So Jatinder says, thank you. You're very, very welcome. So tune in tomorrow at 1:30. That will be more of a 45-minute to an hour long chat about my philosophy of healing. And everyone's like outside in approach to germs versus mine is more inside out. And so Sippy says, I found almond ice cream. Is that okay? Yeah, I think almond, avoiding dairy, almond milk ice cream should be good. And Sippy lives in the States, so I know that their products, they get a lot more stuff than we do, a lot more selection of alternative products. So, sorry, cashew milk ice cream. I'm super, super allergic to cashews, so I can't even like comment on that at all because cashews are like killer for me. But yeah, sure, if it suits you, for sure have it. And Jatinder says almond ice cream sounds yummy. Yes, I've had a little bit of it. It wasn't the best quality one that I had, but I have had it. It was more like sugar water, it tasted like, but I think there are really, really good ones. I have been recording some recipes for our website too, and one of them I'm going to do is coconut milk ice cream. So I just haven't done it yet, but maybe this weekend I will record that and I'll have that up too. So you can try to make your own coconut milk ice cream. It's not super difficult. And well, it's time consuming. I'm not even gonna lie, it's time consuming. Sippy says, thank you for all the tips. Yes, you're super welcome. Hopefully that could save a lot of money and trial and error, because I spent a lot of money trying to buy stuff that looks great on the package. The tahini recipe is recorded. I will put that up too. It's not edited yet, but yes, the tahini recipe is recorded. Reminds me, I will send it to Jeff's daughter is doing our editing right now, so I'll send it to her. I forgot to send it to her, but yeah, I'll send that too. It's super delicious. That tahini recipe on the buckwheat noodles is so good. I could eat it with like anything. It's just so good. So I will share that too. All right, any other questions before I pop off and go for a walk? A few more questions, anything? All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. That was super fun. Hopefully it was helpful, and I will put a list in the blog too of these items. And yeah, hopefully it saves you a little bit of trial and error. I think you can find all this stuff online too if you like to online shop. Maybe Spuds has it too. I didn't think about that. Spuds might have it. Superstore is doing a lot better with their gluten-free aisle. They might have a lot there too. So just check around. Yeah, but I know for a fact that the Food for Life and the King E Soba you cannot find at most grocery stores, and those are totally must-haves. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great long weekend. And today is May 20th. No, what is the date? May 15th. And this is like exactly 2 months of us doing Facebook Live since we went into pandemic. I think we started on March 18th, right the day after we closed. So that was our first one. So this is exactly 2 months that we've been popping online every day, trying to serve, trying to show a different aspect of healing the nervous system, the immune system, how to ramp it up naturally, and how your body is primed to fight all the time to keep you safe. So hopefully we've managed to convey that to everyone. And thanks for tuning in. There's some definite regulars, so thank you for your dedication to us. All right, have a good weekend. Bye, everyone.